The Philadelphia Eagles just revealed some really exciting news from training camp, and it comes in multiple different forms, as Jihaad Campbell just took a massive step forward to potentially start in Week 1, while the Birds seem to be preparing to unleash a new offensive weapon. Plus, the hype surrounding guys like Jordan Davis, Moro Ojomo, and Jalyx Hunt is only continuing to grow, while Dallas Goedert is impressing, and the battle at cornerback is taking an interesting turn. So, I'll talk about all that in this video today, and we're starting right now. There's been a lot happening to start off Eagles training camp, but there's one big storyline that has kind of flown a little bit under the radar. That being that, according to reporter Zach Berman, the Eagles recently hinted at building a brand new stadium in a recent email to season ticket holders, specifically with the email reading, quote, "To help guide this vision, we're exploring potential updates to Lincoln Financial Field, including both renovation options and the possibility of a brand new stadium in the region." Now, this isn't the only speculation or reporting in recent months that the Eagles could build a new stadium soon, but this email obviously only adds fuel to that fire, and it definitely does seem like there's a pretty good chance that this is going to happen. So I'll be curious to see how this unfolds over the next few years and what a new stadium could possibly look like, whether it's just a more modern looking open stadium, which personally I would prefer that just because I like having the weather games, or a dome like some people have been suggesting. Definitely not as big a fan of that idea, but still, that's something that's been thrown around. But either way, the Eagles lease at the Link lasts through 2032, so they're not going anywhere for at least the next 8 seasons, but still, again, this is going to be a situation to monitor moving forward. Getting back to training camp, though, there have obviously been a lot of players who have stood out so far during these first 3 practices, but one person who has really not gotten enough love is tight end Dallas Goedert. As following an offseason where there was just a ton of uncertainty surrounding his contract and future in Philadelphia, Goedert's been reminding us fans just how important to this team he really is. And yes, I know it is only the first few days of training camp, but going into Saturday's practice, Goedert had been the most consistent and reliable pass catcher in the Eagles' entire offense. As through those first 2 practices, Jalen Hurts had been 8 for 8 when targeting Goedert, and after Saturday's session, he is now 10 for 10 based on what is being reported. Well, the tight end also has the most catches of anybody during camp so far. And yes, again, this is just training camp, so no need to overreact to anything, but this truly does show the connection that Hurts and Goedert have. And honestly, I think it's pretty clear that that's one of the main reasons Goedert is still here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, he reached out to me a couple times. We talked. I got a lot of respect for Jalen. Love playing with him. Obviously, I want to play with him throughout my entire career. We'll see where it goes, but yeah, when you got a guy like that, good person, he'd text me, he'd call me, and we just stayed in touch, and that meant a lot to me. Made my decision even easier to try to work something out.
You gotta love hearing that. I mean, it's just awesome to hear that Hurts and Goedert have a relationship like that. And hopefully, fingers crossed, Goedert can finally stay healthy this season and we get to see more of that connection on the field. Because again, when healthy, Goedert is one of the best tight ends in football and a great safety blanket for Hurts. I mean, I feel like people tend to forget this, but the group of A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert were rarely all on the field at the same time together last season, so I feel like this season, if all those guys can stay healthy and they are out there together, then we can expect a little bit more from the Birds' passing game. Still, though, when it comes to the Eagles' offense, it really does sound like it's still very much going to be a run-first offense, and very similar to the way it was last year, with some new stuff mixed in. And some recent comments from offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo before Saturday's practice only further confirm that.
Yeah, I think we're still the Eagles offense. I don't think that'll change. I think it starts with the run game up front, and then we just build from there. And then obviously we'd like to try new things here and there, and we'll see kind of how that goes throughout training camp and where it leads us to. Yeah, I think we've tried to streamline as much as we can to keep it consistent for the guys, but at the end of every year, I think I talked about this in the spring, is when you look at it as a whole and you can take your take steps out of it and kind of see the big picture, you can basically say, okay, if we put this over there and this over there, it's a little cleaner for guys that are now coming into a new system, right? Because the guys that have been here know the history of it. But if you're a new player, an AJ Dillon, some of these other guys, it's a little bit different. They don't have the history of the offense. So when you can put things and move them into other buckets, it's easier to learn. And then it kind of allows you to expand on it too. So I think there is a little bit of that, but nothing dramatic, if that makes sense.
Personally, I think this is exactly how the offense should be run. I mean, obviously, you do want to add in some new things here and there so you don't get stale, boring, and predictable. And they really have to avoid that mistake of just oversimplifying things like they did back in 2023. That said, as they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the Eagles offense did have a lot that worked really well for them last year, most notably the run game. And I think with the personnel pretty much being the same from last year, they have a really, really strong foundation to build on going into this season. So personally, I'm just excited to see that growth and what the offense can do this year. And one new element of that offense is going to be running back AJ Dillon, and it's going to be really interesting to see how the Eagles want to use him. As of course, they already have their 3-down back in Saquon Barkley, but there are times when he does have to come off the field, which we saw last year. So Dillon is certainly very much in the mix to get some of those snaps. And again, it'll be interesting to see how the Eagles can utilize his skill set, whether that's the power elements he brings or the versatility he brings in other areas, including catching the football.
You know, it's interesting because he is a different kind of player. He is a big guy, right, that can run downhill and do different things. And what's actually been really good to see is he's done a good job catching the ball out of the backfield and his versatility. So it just gives us another guy that we can put out there in a different piece where we can move other pieces around. So it'll be fun to use him this year.
How would you describe yourself in pass catching?
Just that. You know, I caught a lot of balls, you know, from quarterbacks, and I've scored receiving touchdowns before, just like running. I played running back for a long time in the league, so, you know, I think that's all just kind of part of it. You know, I can do it all, so excited about it.
It really does seem like Kevin Patullo and the Eagles are very excited about Dillon and what he brings to this offense, especially with Zach Berman's tweet saying, quote, AJ Dillon is someone who's caught some attention from the coaching staff early on. So again, it definitely seems like they like Dillon and what he brings to the offense. Personally, I do very much like his skill set and think as long as he's able to stay healthy, he can be a good weapon for this offense. So again, I'm excited to see how they utilize him and how he performs during camp. Switching over to another new addition though, cornerback Adoree Jackson also made headlines on Saturday, as once again, for the second practice in a row, he was the one starting on the outside at corner to begin practice, which I would say is kind of a surprise just given that going into camp, I very much expected Kelee Ringo to be the clear favorite to win that job. I mean, just think about it. Like, he's young, he was a draft pick just a couple years ago, he's super talented, his potential is very high, and just everything pointed to Ringo being the favorite. So yes, I get it's early on in training camp, but the fact that it's this close early on is definitely a surprise to me, and the fact that it seems like so far Adoree may be winning that battle, or at least the Eagles are favoring him, is pretty shocking, in my opinion. And honestly, if the Eagles were to go into the season with Adoree Jackson as their starting cornerback, then I honestly don't think I would feel very good about that, but you know, again, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. And in regards to the other positional battles the Eagles got going on, we got some news there as well, as Cindy Brown was once again the starting safety opposite Reed Blankenship while Andrew Makuba mixed in, so again, that's a highly contested battle there. And then at linebacker, we have an extremely important development. As while Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is still getting the majority of first-team reps with the first-team defense and making plays, might I add, including breaking up a Jalen Hurts pass to Grant Calcaterra, another linebacker is now getting to the mix with the first team as well. Another linebacker is now getting into the mix with the first team as well, that being first-round rookie Jihaad Campbell. As on Saturday, it was reported that Campbell was mixing in with the first team towards the end of practice, and Zach Berman noted that based on that, it currently looks like we're on track to see a starting combo of Zach Bond and Jihaad Campbell on opening night of the new season. And personally, I completely agree with that. I mean, he was obviously the Eagles' first-round pick this year for a reason, so of course they're going to want him to play, and the fact that he's already getting these first-team reps after being injured throughout the rest of the offseason this early on in camp, I'd say is a pretty good sign, and again, very telling about how the Eagles feel about him and what their plans are for him. Now, obviously, again, it is very early on in camp, and this is the time when teams experiment with things. But again, with Campbell being a first-round pick and all, I think it's pretty safe to say that they'd like to have him be the starter to begin the season with Nakobe Dean likely out. And that'll be even more true if he continues to impress like he has during training camp.
You know, he's a great young talent. Obviously, you can see why he was drafted where he is. You know, he's going to be I think he's going to be a playmaker for this team, but also in this league for a long time. So it's really cool. It's my favorite thing always with rookies coming from like OTAs when they get here and then they get back and say, oh, now they're stuff's starting to click for them a little bit. And yeah, we had a rep, I think the last open practice, so 2 days ago, where he's kind of like guarding some of the Baxton man and stuff. And you know, he moves really well for a guy his size, so it's good to have him on our side.
It definitely seems like Campbell has made a good first impression just based on what we've heard about him through these first few practices. And it's also just fantastic that he's even out there to begin with after being out the rest of the offseason dealing with a shoulder injury. And it's even better news that when the Birds actually get pads on, Campbell will likely be out there hitting people too.
They have your participation listed as limited. What kind of restrictions are there on you right now?
I mean, right now, I'm just taking it day by day. Like I said earlier, man, I'm really excited to, be out here and play football again. Like I said earlier, I just was taking mental reps a lot, so now I can get out here and, fly around.
You'll be able to meet pads on Monday?
Yes.
Even though he has been listed as limited through these first 3 practices, it certainly seems like Campbell's pretty much a full go out there at training camp, so I'm just super fired up about that, and again, certainly very excited to see how he continues to progress as camp goes on. Speaking of which, one guy we've seen progress quite a bit is defensive tackle Jordan Davis, as obviously there's been a ton of hype surrounding him throughout camp because of his substantial weight loss, specifically with him losing 26 pounds this offseason. And evidently, that's already been helping him out a ton on the field, as on Saturday, JD had a great practice, specifically with him having a nice pass rush rep and getting what could have been a potential in-game sack at one point on Jalen Hurts, and he also batted down a Hurts pass at the line of scrimmage. So again, overall, it was a really good practice for Jordan Davis, and again, everything definitely seems to be trending towards him having his best season yet. And I feel even more strongly that way about JD's fellow defensive tackle, Moro Ojomo, because I think he's going to have an absolute breakout year. And again, he's another guy who has been impressing during practice at training camp, as on Saturday, reporter Martin Frank revealed that none other than Moro Ojomo had a big day on the defensive line and pretty much controlled the line of scrimmage throughout practice, and that included getting a sack on Jalen Hurts at one point in 11-on-11. So again, it's definitely exciting to hear that Ojomo is looking good in training camp. Obviously, again, it's just camp, so it only means so much, but that combined with all the other signs really do make me believe that Ojomo is set for a true breakout season in 2025. And I also feel the same exact way about edge rusher Jalyx Hunt. I mean, just look at the evidence. Like, we all saw what he did towards the end of last season. We all obviously know that he has insane potential and talent. We know he's set to step into a bigger role this season. And then much more recently during training camp, we've had some new developments, with multiple guys giving ringing endorsements of Hunt, whether it was Jordan Mailata saying he's going to be special and comparing him to Micah Parsons, or Nolan Smith saying, quote, "My boy's going to be the best thing since sliced bread," in reference to Hunt. And then a few days ago, defensive coordinator Vic Fangio said that he and the Eagles have, quote, "high expectations for Hunt." And in addition to all that, Hunt himself actually just spoke to the media after Saturday's practice, where he revealed that he's currently working on refining a bunch of different moves in his tool bag during camp. That way, he's ready to break them all out during the regular season.
That's what I'm figuring out right now. That's what camp is all about. Finding out what you want to do during the season, honing in your skills. It's third day, so I'm throwing everything I can at Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson, whoever else, Lamb, whoever wants to step out there, just so I can see different sets and different moves against them.
You know, based on all that, I just feel like it'd be foolish not to have high expectations for Jalyx Hunt going into this season. And again, I just love everything I've heard about him during camp so far, and I cannot wait to see what he's going to do, because I truly do believe he's going to have a breakout year. Moving on though, what's an Eagles training camp video without checking in on Jalen Hurts and how he performed, right? So on Saturday, Hurts' performance was a little less on point than usual, as he went 15 for 24 with 2 touchdowns, which both came on back-to-back throws to Devontae Smith in the red zone portion, and also no interception. So, you know, it definitely wasn't terrible. I mean, he definitely did have more misses than usual, including an underthrown deep ball to AJ Brown about 50 yards downfield, and he also had some balls batted down at the line of scrimmage, but he also had those touchdowns to Smitty and a nice pass down the right sideline to AJ Brown where Keely Ringo had tight coverage. So, you know, maybe it wasn't Hurts' best practice, but definitely not bad by any means. And again, guys, it is just training camp, so take everything I'm saying here with a grain of salt, but you know, it's just kind of hard not to get excited when the Super Bowl champs are back out on the field in preparation for a new season. And if you guys don't want to miss any coverage throughout all the training camp and going into the season, then make sure you subscribe and you turn on notifications. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss anything. And also, while you're at it, leave a like down below to show some support, because it really does help me out a ton. See if we can get to at least 500 likes on today's video. That would be greatly appreciated. And also, leave a comment down below just regarding anything that I talked about in this video. And also, if you want to watch another Eagles video going over some other recent Eagles training camp news, you can check this out right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.